It was the 5th year of my marriage to Marcus when he coldly handed me divorce papers. I only married you to fulfill Margaret's last wish. Chloe was always the only person I wanted to marry. Now, it's time for you to give my wife's place to Chloe. I showed no reluctance. I picked up the pen and signed my name. That's great. I can finally marry my first love. Marcus's expression instantly froze, as if he hadn't understood my words. Your first love? I pushed the signed divorce papers back across the glass coffee table to him, the pen tip making a crisp click. Yes. Thank you for giving me my freedom. I stood up, looking down at him. These 5 years, pretending has exhausted me. His brows furrowed, trying to find a crack in my facade. What do you mean? When did you have a first love? I couldn't help but laugh. It wasn't pretense. I truly found it amusing. Marcus, you didn't actually think that during these 5 years you neglected me for Margaret's last wish. I'd be like a resentful woman, waiting for you to come back to an empty house every day. Did you? I walked to the window, looking out. Margaret's last wish was for you to marry me, but it didn't say I had to love you. His face darkened, and his voice became heavy. Grace, explain yourself. I turned, facing him directly, and spoke clearly, word by word. It's simple. I also have the person I want to marry, but some unfortunate circumstances back then caused us to miss each other. This marriage, in name only, served as a shield against my family's pressure to marry. Now, thank you for proposing divorce. It saved me the trouble of finding an excuse. Marcus abruptly stood up, his tone carrying his usual, ridiculous arrogance. Who is he? How do I not know? You've hidden him well. You have no right to know. I picked up my already packed suitcase from the bedroom, its wheels rolling smoothly across the floor. Of all the things in this house, this is the only one I want. The rest, leave them to you and Chloe, the one you've always wanted. He looked at the suitcase in my hand, finally realizing I wasn't bluffing. I had made all my preparations even before he brought up divorce. This feeling of being out of his control clearly made him very uncomfortable. Wait! He stepped forward, trying to grab my wrist. I quickly dodged, my gaze icy. Don't touch me, Mr. Marcus. From now on, we have no connection whatsoever. He froze, watching me walk past him, directly towards the front door. As my hand touched the doorknob, I paused, not looking back, merely adding in a low voice, like dropping a bombshell. Oh, right. I forgot to tell you. Before she passed, besides her last wish, Margaret also gave me some personal savings. Not a lot. Just enough for me and my first love to be financially secure for the rest of our lives. I pulled open the door, and sunlight streamed in. I could imagine the incredible expression on his face at that moment. Leaving's cold mansion. I didn't actually go to meet my so-called first love. That was more of a smokescreen to provoke him. My true confidence came from the thin debit card Margaret had slipped me before she died, and a whispered message. Grace, this money is clean, and it's all yours. If ever things get tough, use it to start a new life. I checked into a downtown luxury hotel and went to the law firm the next day to handle the divorce aftermath. The peace was broken on the 3rd day. My phone vibrated frantically, Marcus's name flashing on the screen. I answered, putting it on speakerphone. Grace, what exactly did you do to Margaret? His voice was frantic, and in the background, there was the faint sound of a woman sobbing. It was Chloe. I respected Margaret as my own grandmother. That's a question you should ask yourself. My tone was flat. Stop playing dumb. What about that secret inheritance from Margaret? That should belong to Marcus. It's Marcus's family property. Chloe couldn't help but shriek. Her pathetic pretense completely vanished. Did you trick Margaret? Or did you steal something that belongs to Marcus? I understood immediately. Marcus had taken my words seriously and told his true love, Chloe, and, clearly, was tempted by the money enough to be financially secure for the rest of my life. Chloe, I said coldly. Firstly, that was a personal gift from Margaret to me, unrelated to Marcus's family. Secondly, Marcus and I are divorced. My property has nothing to do with you, or with him. Impossible. Marcus's voice was adamant. Margaret loved me the most. She would never hide a large sum of money from me and give it all to you alone. Grace, you owe me an explanation. Otherwise what? I interrupted him. Sue me? Fine. Have your lawyer contact my lawyer. Or do you want more people to know how Mr. Marcus used marriage as a shield for 5 years, neglected his wife, And now, for his ex-wife's personal savings, is harassing her over the phone with his new girlfriend? The phone line went instantly quiet, broken only by Chloe's ragged breathing. "Grace," Marcus said when he spoke again, his voice suppressing anger, trying to regain control. "Let's meet and talk. Some things, if they get blown out of proportion, won't look good for anyone. For instance, your so-called first love?" He had indeed investigated and found nothing. This made him even more uneasy and furious. I looked out at the bustling city traffic, my heart cold. Their greed had handed me the weapon themselves. "All right, tomorrow at 2 p.m., at a downtown coffee shop," I agreed decisively. "Remember to bring your Chloe. I'm very curious to see what kind of person you consider worth such a price." I hung up the phone and pressed the stop button on my phone's recording app. The conversation had been clearly and completely saved. The next afternoon, I sat by the window at the coffee shop, the warm sunlight falling on me. I had arrived early, choosing this spot because of its good lighting, clear acoustics for recording, and because at the next table sat a woman reading a book, my divorce lawyer, Sarah. At precisely 2 o'clock, Marcus and Chloe appeared. Marcus's face was grim, while Chloe clung tightly to his arm, her expression a mix of feigned fragility and wariness. They sat opposite me, and the atmosphere instantly became tense. "Grace, don't waste time. Tell me, what about Margaret's money, and who is your first love?" Marcus came straight to the point, his tone aggressive. I slowly stirred my coffee. "Margaret's money is my personal property acquired before marriage. All legal documents are in order. Would you like me to have Sarah show them to you?" I tilted my head slightly, and Sarah, at the next table, closed her book and nodded at Marcus. Marcus's expression stiffened. He hadn't expected me to bring a lawyer. Chloe immediately interjected, her voice soft yet urgent. "Grace, you can't say that. You and Marcus were married. Margaret's money, ultimately, belongs to Marcus's family. Isn't it too greedy for you to keep it all to yourself? Besides, if it gets out that you were involved with someone else while married, it wouldn't be good for your reputation." She glanced at me meaningfully as she spoke. I smiled, put down my coffee spoon, and looked directly at her. "Chloe, you call me sister, but I can't accept that. Though my family may not be as prominent as Marcus's, we have a strict upbringing and wouldn't interfere in someone else's marriage, let alone turn around and accuse the original wife." Chloe's face flushed instantly. "Grace," Marcus growled, "watch your language." "My language is perfectly fine," I said, my tone turning cold. "Unlike you two, one intimately involved with mess, Chloe during his marriage, and the other actively pursuing a man she knew was married. Now, on what grounds, and with what audacity, do you question me about my personal property and my relationships?" Marcus was left speechless by my question, and Chloe quickly shook his arm, her voice tinged with a whine. "Marcus, look at her. She's just being unreasonable and difficult, trying to slander us." "Slander?" I lightly tapped my phone, turning the screen towards them, which displayed the active recording interface. "Do you need me to review yesterday's phone call, where you two brazenly demanded an inheritance and threatened to expose my so-called first love? If this recording were uploaded online, I wonder who the public would find more disgraceful." Marcus's face went instantly pale. He lunged to grab my phone. I quickly pulled it back, looking at him with cold eyes. You actually recorded us." He gritted his teeth. "It's to guard against scoundrels, not gentlemen," I said flatly. "Marcus, you've signed the divorce papers. Legally, we're no longer connected. If you and Ms. Chloe continue to harass me in any way, or spread false rumors, this recording, along with other evidence I have regarding your true love, will appear immediately on major online platforms and on your partner's desks." I stood up, picked up my bag, and looked down at them. "I wish you too. May true love prevail." Chloe seemed provoked by the phrase "may true love prevail." The thought of the money slipping away caused her to lose control, and she shrieked, "Grace, what are you so smug about? You're just an unwanted, abandoned wife." I stopped, turned back, and calmly swept my gaze over her face, twisted by jealousy and greed. Then to Marcus's livid face. "Abandoned wife?" I chuckled softly. "No, I'm a winner who got rid of trash. And you too, one blinded by greed and the other heartless. Stay together and spare others the misery." With that, I ignored them and walked directly towards the door. Sunlight bathed me as I stepped out. Behind me, in the coffee shop, Only a deathly silence remained, along with Chloe's desperate, choked sobs. Sarah followed me, whispering, "Nicely handled." A few days later, I noticed someone following me. It wasn't a professional private detective. The clumsy tailing technique suggested Chloe had hired third-rate operatives. Desperate to find dirt on me, I decided to play along. I met my friend Susan for dinner at an elegant restaurant, deliberately choosing a table by the floor-to-ceiling window. In a moderate tone, I mentioned, "He'll be back soon." Actually, when we broke up back then, there were some misunderstandings, but now we've cleared them up. Susan understood immediately and played along. "That's wonderful, Ethan. He's an extraordinary figure now." We exchanged smiles. I was confident that the eavesdropper outside the window would report the name Ethan to Chloe as if it were a treasure. Things unfolded faster than I expected. 2 days later, Marcus directly cornered me in the hotel lobby. His face was haggard, the dark circles under his eyes showing his recent agitation. "Ethan?" He stared intensely at me. "Your first love. Is he the Ethan who started a startup venture in Silicon, recently returned to the country, and is on all the tech news headlines?" I feigned surprise, then revealed a knowing smile. "You found out? It seems MS. Chloe's hired people are quite efficient." His breathing noticeably deepened as he tried to find a trace of a lie on my face. "This is impossible. How do you know him? You're not even in the same world." "Marcus," I said calmly, my eyes even holding a hint of pity. "You never truly understood me, just as you never knew why Margaret genuinely liked me, not just because of her last wish. You didn't know what I majored in at university, or my past dreams and social circles. Your eyes were only on yourself, and the Chloe who clung to you." I stepped closer, staring into his slightly panicked eyes. "Do I need to remind you? In my sophomore year, at the university student science and technology competition, the award-winning project Dynamic and Shadow based on AI, Grace, was the lead author, and was the third author on that project. One of my partners." Marcus's expression completely froze. Of course, he didn't remember. He hadn't even come to see my competition back then. That was a pearl buried in my past, carefully polished, and now it was a sharp weapon to shatter his ridiculous perceptions. We parted ways back then due to different plans for the future. He went to Silicon, and I chose to stay. But these 5 years, we weren't entirely out of touch. I said, a half-truth. A spiritual connection is far more solid than a cold marriage contract. Now that he's back, we should return to our rightful path. I looked at the complex expression on Marcus's face, a mix of shock, disbelief, and profound defeat, and felt a calm within me. The wealth and status he prided himself on seemed so pale and powerless before the aura and strength that the name Ethan represented. His biggest blow wasn't losing me, but discovering that the person he had discarded like an old shoe was, in fact, a treasure in the heart of someone he couldn't even reach on tiptoe. "Now, do you still think I absconded with your property? Or that I'm not good enough for you, Mr. Marcus?" I asked softly, each word like a slap, hitting his fragile ego. He opened his mouth, but ultimately, not a single word came out. He simply stared at me, utterly despondent, as I turned and walked into the hotel lobby. A week later, I received a call from an unknown number. The caller introduced himself as a journalist from a tech publication. "MS. Grace, we've received an anonymous tip-off regarding your relationship with Mr. Ethan, CEO of Stellar Tech, and your recently concluded marriage. The informant accuses you of having an inappropriate relationship with Mr. Shin during your marriage to Mr. Marcus, and has provided some evidence." My heart sank. "What evidence?" "It's an edited audio recording of a conversation between you and a female friend at a restaurant, where you mentioned Mr. Shen and said, 'Now that he's back, we should return to our rightful path,' coupled with the timing of your divorce. This could easily lead to misunderstanding. Additionally, there are some candid photos of you acting intimately with several other men during your marriage to Mr. Marcus." I understood immediately. It was the conversation Susan and I had in the restaurant that day. Edited, and those so-called intimate photos were nothing more than normal professional social interactions, or deliberately taken from misleading angles. They didn't dare directly challenge Ethan, but they wanted to use such despicable tactics to portray me as a gold digger who committed marital infidelity, led an indecent lifestyle, and even tried to climb the social ladder using Ethan. Once this image was established, not only would my reputation be ruined, but it could also affect Ethan. who had just returned to the country and was at a critical stage of his career. The public wouldn't delve into the truth. They'd only believe the scandal they wanted to believe. This was Marcus and Chloe's true goal, what I couldn't have. They'd destroy the influential connection I made. They'd make sure I fell from grace. MS. Grace, do you have any response to this? The journalist pressed. I forced myself to calm down. This is baseless slander and libel through manipulated editing. I reserve the right to pursue legal action against all those involved in the defamation. Shortly, my lawyer will formally contact your publication. After hanging up, I immediately contacted Sarah and then called Susan. They've made their move, I said, my voice edged with coldness. They edited the recording of our dinner that day to make it look like evidence of my marital infidelity. Susan swore over the phone. That despicable couple. They're absolutely vile. What do we do now? We'll play along. I took a deep breath. They want public opinion to crush me, so I'll show them what playing with fire truly means. I still had a trump card they didn't know about, the entire high-definition recording of that coffee shop confrontation, where Chloe lost control and insulted me, and Marcus tried to snatch my phone. I hadn't wanted to go too far, but now, they were forcing my hand. Not only that, I would make them face the consequences of their actions. I asked Susan to find out about Chloe's past, a woman so skilled at pretense and so ruthless. I didn't believe her past was clean. Sarah and I moved quickly. The lawyer's statement was sternly worded, clearly stating that the audio had been maliciously edited. The photos were taken from misleading angles without consent, constituting defamation, and that a notarized original recording had been submitted as evidence. At the same time, we chose a major social media platform to release the edited video of the coffee shop confrontation. Public opinion instantly reversed. Oh my God, this guy is such a turn-off. The other woman is so brazen. The original wife is so fierce. This wave of support for the original wife. Get lost. You too. The public condemnation online was even more ferocious than we had anticipated. Marcus's company phones were ringing off the hook, and partners were sending inquiry emails. Chloe became a public enemy. Her social media account was flooded with hateful comments until it was shut down. I thought this was the end, but they were like a desperate struggle. The fear of ruin and immense losses made them completely lose their minds. One late night, after working overtime, I drove back alone to the underground parking garage of the hotel apartment. Just as I parked, two blinding high beams suddenly flared behind me, shining directly on me, enveloping me in a blinding glare. My heart tightened, and I instinctively locked the car doors. Marcus got out of his familiar black sedan, his face looking grotesque in the pale light. Chloe followed him, her eyes no longer feigning innocence, but filled with raw malice. Marcus violently pounded on my car window, his voice echoing in the empty parking garage. With a desperate, reckless frenzy, "Grace, get out of the car! Explain yourself! You ruined me, and I won't let you get away with it." Chloe also shrieked, "Grace, you bitch! What tricks did you use to seduce Ethan? Call him out! Otherwise, I'll scratch your face today." I sat in the car, my heart pounding, but my mind was exceptionally clear. I immediately used my phone's speed dial to contact Sarah, then discreetly pressed the emergency recording button on my dashcam. Having done all this, I took a deep breath and lowered my car window just a crack. "Marcus, Chloe, your current actions constitute threats and intimidation. My dashcam and phone are both recording. If you don't want to further incriminate yourselves, leave immediately." "Recording? Ha ha ha." Marcus laughed as if he'd heard the funniest joke, his eyes wild. "I'm already in this state. Do you think I'm afraid of your recordings? Grace, take down what's online, publicly apologize, and say you slandered us. Otherwise." He violently kicked my car door, making a loud thud. Chloe pulled out a pair of what were clearly garden shears from her bag, gesturing at my car window, her eyes crazed. "Did you hear me? Get out!" I knew I couldn't provoke them. I was stalling for time, waiting for the security guards or police Sarah would notify. "Do you think this will solve anything?" I tried to keep my voice steady. "It will only further incriminate yourselves." "I don't care," Marcus roared. "I'm ruined, and you won't get away with it either." And, if he knew you were a troublesome person who brings nothing but scandal, would he still want you? Just as he tried to ram the car window with his body, urgent footsteps and the security guard's shouts came from the parking lot in trance. "What are you doing? Stop!" Marcus and Chloe froze, panic flashing across their faces. I immediately raised the car window and locked it. Seeing the security guards approaching, They quickly ran into the darkness and disappeared. Their madness made me realize they might do anything for Margaret's inheritance. I thought they would calm down for a while, but I underestimated the greed and viciousness of desperate people. They stopped harassing me personally and turned their target to what I cherished most, the cherished memory Margaret left me. Besides the debit card, Margaret also left me the old family home where she had lived for decades. It held almost all the warm memories of my childhood and adolescence. Every blade of grass and every tree branch was imbued with Margaret's presence. Though the location of the house was good, to me, it was priceless. I never thought of selling it. I simply had someone clean it regularly and often went back to sit there. Until one glaring afternoon, I arrived at the old family home with my keys, as usual, only to be shocked to find the lock had been changed. A cold court notice was posted on the door, due to a property dispute involving Marcus's family. The property had been temporarily frozen and placed under preservation. I felt a chill run through me and immediately called Marcus. The phone rang for a long time before it was answered, with Chloe's thinly veiled, triumphant giggle in the background. "Marcus, what did you do to Margaret's old family home?" My voice trembled, not from fear, but from extreme anger. "What did I do?" Marcus's voice carried a sense of retaliatory glee. "Grace, I consulted a lawyer. Margaret was mentally incapacitated in her later years, and she bestowed a large sum of cash upon you. We have reason to suspect you used inappropriate means. This old family home, registered under my father's name, was only for Margaret's residence and belongs to Marcus's family property. You are now illegally possessing something that belongs to me. Absurd. Shameless." Margaret had personally told me that she bought the house with her life savings and my grandfather's pension. The title deed was clear, but due to some historical reasons, it was initially registered under Marcus's father's name. But there was an internal agreement and notarization proving its true ownership. The title deed is here with me, in black and white. I tried to argue. "That's a forgery." Chloe snatched the phone, shrieking, "Grace, you forged documents and embezzled family assets. We've already submitted the evidence. Just wait for your court summons. We'll sell this house immediately to cover debts." They hung up. I stood before the door, so familiar to me, yet now keeping me out. I felt a chill run through me. The sunlight touched my skin, but I felt no warmth. Leaning against the cold wall, I slowly slid to the ground, and tears, for the first time, streamed uncontrollably. It wasn't weakness. It was a feeling that Margaret didn't deserve this. A piercing pain for the invasion of this sanctuary I cherished most. Just then, my phone rang. It was Susan. "Grace, I found something. Her real name is Lily, and she's a professional con artist." Susan's voice trembled with excitement over the phone. She specializes in targeting wealthy, yet arrogant and emotionally vulnerable men in high-end settings. Her method is to pretend to be vulnerable and feign true love, then swindle large sums of money under various pretexts like investment or emergencies, disappearing immediately after. The police have at least 2 case records on her, but because of insufficient evidence or victims not wanting to pursue it further due to embarrassment, she always got away. Susan sent an encrypted file containing detailed investigation results, including testimonies from several ex-boyfriends who used different aliases but whose photos were indeed Chloe, as well as some vague but related bank statements and chat logs. Most importantly, Susan emphasized, she is currently restricted from leaving the country because of previous cases. She's clinging to Marcus, likely not just for the remaining bit of his money, but more probably to use his connections and resources to help her resolve her travel restrictions. I held the phone, standing by the hotel's floor-to-ceiling window, looking at the city below. The piercing pain in my heart from the seizure of the old family home was gradually replaced by a cold clarity. Marcus, my pig-headed, arrogant ex-husband. He always thought Chloe was his true love, a trophy from his rebellion against a family marriage and his pursuit of freedom. For her, he abandoned a 5-year marriage, betrayed Margaret's wishes, and now was abandoned by everyone. His career on the verge of ruin. If he knew the truth, knew that his so-called love was a meticulously planned scam from start to finish, what would he do? A plan quickly formed in my mind. I would make them collapse from within. I would make Marcus personally admit his slander against Margaret's old family home, and then, I would make him plunge into an abyss deeper and more desperate than his current one. I contacted Sarah and paused the emergency litigation procedures concerning the old family home. "Give me 2 days," I said. "I want to get back more than just the house. I want complete peace." I anonymously sent information about Chloe's true identity and criminal record to Marcus's private email. I also attached a brief message: beware of the snake beside you. She's sharpening her teeth on your bones. I knew that with Marcus's suspicious and arrogant nature, he would never easily believe it, but he would definitely investigate. And as soon as he started to doubt, Chloe's lies could no longer be contained. After sending the email, I waited quietly in my hotel suite. I could almost imagine Marcus's expression when he received the email, first furious, thinking it was another slander from me. Then the seed of doubt would quietly sprout. Finally, given his personality, he would subtly verify it. Indeed, 2 days later, late at night, my phone rang. The name flashing on the screen was Marcus. I answered without speaking. The first sound from the other end was Chloe's shrill, distorted voice, tinged with a whine, yet full of cunning. Marcus, you'd rather believe that wicked woman's fabricated lies than believe me? I love you. How much criticism have I endured for you? This is clearly Grace trying to sow discord. Sowing discord? Marcus's voice was exceptionally low, like a taut string, carrying a terrifying calm, barely suppressed. Lily, or should I call you Rachel? Ashley? How many names do you actually have? Instant silence fell on the other end of the phone. I smiled silently. He had indeed investigated and found something even more critical than what Susan had provided me. No, it's not like that. Marcus, let me explain. Chloe's voice genuinely began to panic. Explain? Marcus suddenly raised his voice, his suppressed rage exploding instantly. I could even hear the loud crash of something being thrown. Explain why you're on the restricted from leaving the country list? Explain why your cousin's account received the money from my car sale? Explain why every single one of your ex-boyfriends went bankrupt or was burdened with debt after you disappeared? You've been following me? You investigated me? Chloe's voice also suddenly turned shrill, her pretense completely stripped away. So what if I did? Marcus, what kind of good person do you think you are? If you didn't have some family wealth, and just happened to be divorcing your cold wife, do you think I'd even look at you? Arrogant, foolish, overconfident and underperforming. Margaret leaving her property to Grace was a wise move. You're simply a hopeless case. Shut up. Marcus's roar carried the furious rage of someone whose deepest wound had been exposed. I will not shut up. What else can you do besides bossing around your ex-wife? Your company is collapsing. You're about to lose your house. And you still think you're some arrogant CEO? I must have been cursed to be with you. If I had known you were so useless, I would have already. Slap. A loud slap echoed through the phone, followed by Chloe's hysterical shriek and the loud crash of something being thrown. Get out! Get out of my sight! Marcus's voice was hoarse, filled with a destructive fury. You dare hit me? Marcus! You just wait. I won't let you get away with this. All your dirty little. The phone call abruptly cut off, as if suddenly disconnected. I slowly put down my phone, and silence returned to the room. Outside, the city lights twinkled, as if the ugly, disgraceful farce that had just unfolded nearby had never happened. Their alliance was more fragile than I had imagined. In the face of the naked truth and sheer self-interest, their so-called true love crumbled instantly. Marcus was now tasting not only the bitter fruit of his career's collapse and being abandoned by everyone, but also the despair of having his beliefs utterly shattered. He had been played for a fool from start to finish by his chosen true love, and this blow to his pride was devastating. Chloe was also finished. She had lost Marcus, her last refuge and potential stepping stone, and given the information she revealed in her uncontrolled state, Marcus would not let her off lightly. Marcus's call came the next morning. His voice was hoarse, tired, and conveyed a profound weariness, a stark contrast to his raging madness of the previous day. Grace, you sent the email, didn't you? He wasn't questioning. He was stating a fact. Yes, I did. I admitted frankly. There was a long silence on the other end, broken only by his ragged breathing. Then, he spoke, his voice carrying a plea that was almost humble, something I had never heard from him before. Thank you. I didn't respond. Thank me for making him see the truth? That thank you was too cheap. I'm very sorry, he continued, speaking slowly, as if each word cost him immense effort. For everything. For my past foolishness. For the hurt I caused you. For Margaret's old family home. I was deluded. I was tricked by that woman. Marcus. I interrupted him, my voice calm and steady. An apology holds no meaning for me now. If you called just to say these things, then I'm hanging up. No, wait, he quickly cried, his tone tinged with urgency. Chloe, Lily. She stole some important private documents and the last bit of cash from my safe and ran off. But I've already called the police. I'll give them everything she did to me, including the recordings where she tried to trick me into clearing your name. I'll make her pay. He was offering me a gesture of goodwill, trying to use Chloe's punishment to earn my, what? Forgiveness? Or leniency? That's between you and her, I said coolly. It has nothing to do with me. It does. Marcus's voice rose slightly, tinged with despair. Grace, I know I have no right to ask anything of you now, but I beg you, for the sake of our 5 years, for Margaret's sake, regarding the old family home, can we drop the lawsuit or settle privately? I admit, that house is yours. Always has been. I'll immediately lift the freeze and return all the documents to you. I've lost everything. I can't afford to have a lawsuit hanging over me. He finally stated his true purpose. Fear had crushed his pride. He was afraid of legal repercussions, afraid of losing what little freedom he had left after being ruined. I held the phone, watching the city slowly awaken outside the window. Margaret's kind face appeared in my mind. That old family home was a haven of peace and memories she had left me. It shouldn't be dragged through this mire any longer. All right, I replied decisively. Marcus seemed stunned, not expecting me to agree so readily, but my tone shifted, becoming cold and clear. There are 3 conditions. Name your terms. I'll agree to anything, he said impatiently. First, this afternoon at 2 o'clock, bring the complete title deed for the old family home and the legal documents to lift the freeze, and wait for me at the entrance of the old family home. We will finalize the transfer and sign the agreement on the spot. Good. No problem. Second, from now on, disappear from my life forever, no matter when or where. If you see me, please walk the other way. I don't want to hear any news about you again, nor do I want you to appear before me. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line. Then his strained voice came through. I agree. Third, I paused, saying each word clearly. Go to Margaret's grave and humbly apologize. Tell her you were wrong. This time, Marcus was silent for even longer. Finally, he replied in a barely audible voice. Okay, be there by 2, or I won't wait. I hung up, not giving him a chance to say anything else. This was not forgiveness. This was a ritual for me to completely break free from the past, taking back the old family home, expelling Marcus, and making him face Margaret with eternal regret. This was the most decisive way I could think of to move past this absurd chapter. The afternoon sun was beautiful, shining on the weathered walls of Margaret's old family home. It was time for peace to return here. The transfer of the old family home went exceptionally smoothly. Marcus was gaunt, almost a shadow of his former self, with sunken eyes. His former arrogance completely vanished. He silently handed me all the documents, signed the agreement. There wasn't a single unnecessary word throughout the entire process. Only as he was leaving, he paused, his back to me, his voice hoarse. I'll go to Margaret's grave. I didn't respond, watching his slightly hunched figure disappear at the street corner. A profound calm settled in my heart. It wasn't forgiveness. It was utter indifference. From then on, he was merely a crossed-out character in the script of my life. I thought this was the end. A few days later, as I was sorting through Margaret's old belongings in the study of the old family home, the doorbell rang. Through the security camera, I saw Marcus standing outside, without any documents in his hand, only a small velvet box. I hesitated for a moment but opened the door, though I had no intention of letting him in. The sunlight fell on him, making him appear even paler. I'm not here to bother you, he quickly said. He couldn't meet my gaze, his eyes fixed on the stone steps below. Chloe, Lily has been formally arrested. The evidence is conclusive, and she faces a substantial prison sentence. I acknowledged him coolly. Sarah had already informed me of this news. He took a deep breath, as if summoning all his courage, and then handed over the velvet box. Margaret gave it to me back then, saying it was a family heirloom for my wife. I don't have the right to keep it, nor do I have the right to decide for Margaret who it should belong to. Now, it's time for it to return to its rightful owner. I recognized the box. Inside was a perfectly preserved jade pendant, which Margaret often wore when she was alive. I took it, the cool touch spreading through my fingertips. And this, he took out a check from his pocket, a significant amount, almost all the liquid assets he could currently access. I know this can't make up for anything, and it further tainted Margaret's old family home, but this money is. My way of making amends for these 5 years. For you. And for Margaret. You can do whatever you want with it. I looked at the check but didn't take it. I don't need your money, Marcus. Take it back. He stubbornly held it out, his hand trembling slightly. Please. I'm begging you. Take it. Otherwise, I won't even have a glimmer of hope to make amends for the rest of my life. And that would be too cruel. I looked at the deep pain and regret in his eyes. It was no longer an act. Finally, I took the check. I'll donate it in Margaret's name. He seemed to finally shed a heavy burden. His shoulders slumped, and he let out a long, trembling sigh. Thank you. This time, his thanks carried much more weight. He looked up, meeting my eyes for the first time, his eyes rimmed with red. Grace, I'm sorry for my blindness, for my unkindness, for all the hurt and humiliation I caused you, and for failing Margaret's expectations. I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. I just had to tell you myself. I looked at him, this man I had nominally shared my life with for 5 years, now utterly broken and in disarray. There was no triumph in my heart, no pity, only a sense of finality and profound relief. I've heard your apology, I said calmly. Now, we are even. He froze for a moment, then showed a bitter smile, nodded, and turned again, walking away step by step. This time, his figure merged into the twilight of the setting sun, and he never looked back. I closed the door, sealing off the outside world. In my hand, I held the warm jade pendant and the light yet weighty check. I walked to Margaret's portrait and gently placed the jade pendant beside the photo frame. Margaret, it's all over, I whispered. Outside the window, city lights twinkling, neon glowing. This city once held me captive, but now, it unfurls endless possibilities before me. I picked up my phone and dialed Susan's number. My voice light and resolute. Susan, that startup venture we talked about. I've decided to launch it. Also, could you help me contact a reliable charity? Oh, and are you free this weekend? Come with me to check out the new spring clothes. A new life. It's time for it to officially begin. Sunlight streamed through the clean glass windows of the old family home, illuminating Margaret's jade pendant with a warm glow. I donated Marcus's compensation check, in Margaret's name, to the orphanage she frequented during her lifetime. Then, I pulled my suitcase and locked the door of the old family home. As I turned, a gentle breeze brushed my face, carrying the scent of sprouting spring growth. My phone rang. It was a message from Susan. The new office is all set. Come quickly. And by the way, I'll treat you to a welcome dinner tonight, to celebrate Grace's new beginning. I replied with 2 words, on my way. Without looking back, I walked to the car parked by the road, started it, and merged into the sea of traffic. My path lies ahead. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any thoughts about this story, feel free to share them in the comments section. Here is Roses and Love, sharing stories about marriage and women every day. See you tomorrow.